to Psychological Explorations with Dr. Michael Axelman and Daniela. This is part 2 of our presentation on relational case conceptualization. And in this part, we focus on that category of cases that we think of as not having a good enough attachment. The infant and toddler years were marked by a lack of a stable, healthy attachment. And as we look at this case, we realize that what's needed is the focus on the relationship itself, on the attachment. The first part focused more on those cases that come with a healthy attachment and there's some disruption post-attachment. So our working hypothesis after going through relational case conceptualization is that the child has not had a meaningful relationship or a connection up until the point where therapy is starting. As such, the therapist then is used therapeutically as the first relationship. Becomes over time what can be thought of as the first relationship. And it denotes that there will be a longer term treatment and that the therapist must traverse the same developmental stages with the child and the teen that a parent would. And these will happen in different ways because they happen within the frame. But the stages are the same. And the first phase, illusionment, right, where there's full acceptance with maximal accommodation on the part of the therapist. Right, during this phase of the therapy, the therapist is doing maximal accommodation towards the child and helping the child feel exquisitely important. The phase following this, right, is the disillusionment phase that we'll talk about as well. So during disillusionment, the therapist will be disappointing the child through the setting of limits and personal boundaries that show up as part of therapy, of working within the frame. And disillusionment makes no sense unless the child has had a sufficient opportunity for illusionment. The aim is to form a significant relationship with a therapist and then allow the child teen to get in touch with their awareness that they wish they could see the therapist more or see her in another setting or in some kind of special capacity. And then this very same client must accept this disappointment that the meeting continues within the frame of the therapy. And that whole wish of wanting to be with the therapist more in a home-like setting, in a more regular setting, community setting outside of the frame, must be accepted. And that disappointment is a critical part of the second phase. So the therapy, right, is moving out of illusionment into reality. The relationship itself within the transference deepens at that limit, at that place where containment and limits are set. So through this type of therapy, the playroom functions as the holding environment. We revisit the ABCs of attachment right in real time. And the phase is really built on illusionment. The attachment-focused child in therapy must travel the same developmental path as the developing infant, as we mentioned. The therapist provides a specialized relational forum that is akin to maternal care in the first year of life. Winnicott's use of the term holding environment is not limited to the actual physical holding, but includes the symbolic holding, holding someone in mind and heart, which are processes associated with empathy. The therapist makes the child important for that period of time that they're with the child. Over time, through the therapeutic containment of destructive tendencies, the child will move emotionally towards acceptance and recognition of dependency as a feature of human relations. Recognition of dependency involves the experience of a relationship that has value, value built upon reliability and survivability. So a therapist who's building this first relationship, it's more important that you show up every time with regularity. Of course, there's going to be some misses for illnesses and other events, but it's very important to maintain that consistency and that reliability, to have the child give way towards the dependency. Because of the primitive nature of their needs, right, these youth can be exceptionally challenging and rewarding as clients. Features of an effective treatment include tolerance of constant rule breaking, what could be thought of as annoying behavior, right? And this annoyance is a relational attempt to see what the therapist is made of. What kind of value do they really have? Are they kind of made of paper and they crumple easily with a little bit of annoyance? Or can they tolerate that? The other side, right, is the firm, clear, unyielding limits that are set when they're absolutely needed. Normally, treatment is multifaceted, employing a comprehensive behavioral management program that is fully accepting of the child at all times, at the same time setting clear and firm limits. Limit setting and acceptance working together. So staying here with the therapist, it's through the maintenance of unconditional regard. The child is able to begin the process of consolidation of self as the development of empathy begins to take seed in the child. It is through the containment and gentle reflection of these fragmented expressions back to the child that the child moves towards self-cohesion and learns about interpersonal impact. Relationship building is earned and begins from a place of profound distrust. So we'll see a child testing and retesting the environment to see if it's sturdy. I liken it to an adult who goes to a used car market and is walking around a car, kicking the tires, banging the doors, smashing the hood, and what are you doing? I want to make sure I've got a good car. The child does the same thing. If they've had a car that's failed them, broke down on the road, they want to test and retest relationships for their sturdiness. What is required is that one relationship in the child's life becomes meaningful. And it's becoming meaningful as it's going through testing and retesting. Winnicott's second wife, Claire Winnicott, um, wrote a wonderful piece on communicating with children, where she talks about helping children align their knowledge about themselves with feelings that they're having inside, leading to an understanding, right, about their own lived experience. And I quote, the most important aim of communicating with children is to make contact with how the child is feeling in the present moment about himself. It is when one is listened to and appreciated that life becomes worth living, because the thing most real to him is real to others. And this links him to the world, to life, and to shared experiences and meaningful relationships. And in closing, the large frame for this building, right, is non-directive play therapy. And it's in that frame that we move from conceptualizing the case into engagement with the child. We do this by the creation of a facilitating environment, a reliable space built on care, responsiveness, and respect. Rather than shape their choices, right, we illuminate their understanding. We illuminate the child through their play so that they can see their pathway more clearly and help them walk their path that they're meant to travel. Thank you for joining us once again for Psychological Explorations. Please come back and join us for future presentations.